Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a pretty powerful book this time, Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five.
It's one you hear a lot about, but it's really something to experience it for yourself.
Definitely. It's been called a satirical war novel, but it's so much more than that. Vonnegut himself was a prisoner of war during World War II.
And that experience, especially the firebombing of Dresden, really shaped this book.
Yeah, you can feel the impact of that event throughout the story. It's not just about war, though. Slaughterhouse-Five plays with time travel, throws in aliens.
And makes you question everything you thought you knew about life, death, and the meaning of it all.
And the fact that it's based on Vonnegut's real-life experiences just adds another layer of complexity.
Definitely makes you think about how we process trauma, how we make sense of the senseless.
Right, and how we find meaning in a world that can often feel completely chaotic. So, where do we even begin with a book like this? Let's start with our main character, Billy Pilgrim.
Billy starts off as this very ordinary guy, an optometrist. You get these glimpses into his life before the war, almost like snapshots.
Yeah, like setting the stage for how drastically things are about to change.
And then, boom, he's captured by German soldiers during World War II, thrown into a POW camp, and the conditions there are brutal.
It's like any sense of normalcy is completely stripped away.
Right, and then comes the firebombing of Dresden. This event is absolutely pivotal in the book, both for Billy and for Vonnegut himself, clearly.
Billy's right in the middle of this horrifying attack and somehow survives.
But it's like this experience breaks something in him. He starts to become what Vonnegut calls unstuck in time.
Time travel, right.
Yeah.
But it's not like your typical science fiction time travel.
No, it's fragmented, disorienting. Billy jumps between different points in his life with no real control over where or when he lands.
But we're not talking about a time machine or anything like that.
Nope. It's more like Billy's consciousness is scattered across time. It makes you question how we experience time, how we even construct our own memories and identities.
That's heavy stuff. And then there are the Tralfamadorians.
Ah, yes, the aliens. But they're not your typical little green men.
They have this completely different understanding of time. They see all moments happening at once. Past, present, future. It's all one big now.
Imagine seeing your life laid out like a tapestry. Every moment existing simultaneously. It's mind-blowing, and it totally throws our linear view of time out the window.
In death, they see death differently too, right?
To them, death isn't an ending. It's just another point in their existence. It's like they accept it as a natural part of the tapestry of life.
And that ties into one of the most iconic phrases from the book.
Yeah.
So it goes. It pops up all the time, usually after someone dies.
It's a Tralfamadorian saying, but Vonnegut uses it so effectively. It's like a reminder of their acceptance of death, but it also highlights this sense of detachment, almost absurdity, especially when he's describing the horrors of war.
Right. It's like he's pointing out how easily we can become desensitized to suffering, how we can distance ourselves from the true cost of violence.
So it goes. It's simple, but it really sticks with you. And then there's the satire, the dark humor that Vonnegut weaves throughout the story.
Like that scene where a movie producer tells him he should write an anti-glacier book instead of an anti-war book.
Exactly. It's funny, but it also makes you think about how we tend to view war as this inevitable force, like something we can't control.
Like a glacier, just crushing everything in its path.
And then you have characters like Roland Weary, one of Billy's fellow soldiers.
He's this delusional, cruel character obsessed with being a war hero.
He represents the absurdity of war, how it can twist our morals, our sense of right and wrong.
And it's not just the big picture stuff, the battles and the politics. Vonnegut also captures these small moments of humanity that shine through the darkness.
Like the scene where Billy sees a German couple having a picnic in the ruins of Dresden.
Amidst all that destruction, they're finding a moment of beauty, of connection.
It's like a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure.
And that endurance, you see it in Billy's relationship with Edgar Derby, this older, intellectual soldier who represents a glimmer of hope in all the chaos.
Derby's a fascinating character. He believes in knowledge, compassion, even when surrounded by unimaginable suffering.
But his fate is a real punch in the gut. It's a reminder that even the best of us aren't immune to the senselessness of war.
And then there's that ending, the one that just stays with you.
Billy's back in Dresden, working in a corpse mine, literally unearthing the victims of the firebombing. It's a stark confrontation with the true cost of war, the human toll that's often hidden or ignored.
And then that final line, that haunting question that hangs in the air.
Billy hears a bird ask, "Putiwit." What does it mean? Is it hope? Despair? or something else entirely?
Vonnegut leaves it open to interpretation, which is so frustrating and brilliant at the same time.
You finish the book, and you're left with this lingering sense of unease, this feeling that you need to figure it out to make sense of it all.
That's the power of Slaughterhouse-Five. It's not just a story, it's an experience that sticks with you long after you turn the last page. One of the things that Slaughterhouse-Five really makes you think about is free will. I mean, do we really have any control over our lives?
Especially when you consider Billy's experiences, being thrown into war, being a prisoner. It feels like he's just being swept along by events he can't control.
And then you have the Tralfamadorians with their whole perspective on time, where every moment is happening at once.
They say that humans are the only ones who are obsessed with this idea of free will.
It makes you wonder if our sense of choice, of making decisions that shape our future, if it's all just an illusion.
Like we're just playing out a script that's already been written.
Exactly. And that feeling of fatalism, it's amplified by Vonnegut's use of "so it goes."
Yeah, it's like this constant reminder that death and suffering are inevitable no matter what choices we make.
But even within this idea of determinism, there are moments where Billy does seem to exercise some agency, some choice.
Like when he decides to talk about the Tralfamadorians, even though he knows people will think he's crazy.
Right. It's like he's choosing to share his story, to make sense of his experiences, even if it means being ridiculed or dismissed.
So is Vonnegut saying that we do have free will, or is he suggesting that even our choices are predetermined?
That's the beauty of it. He doesn't give you a clear answer. He presents this paradox, this tension between free will and determinism, and leaves you to grapple with it.
It's like he's saying, here's the messiness of life, figure it out for yourself.
And then there's Edgar Derby, this character who embodies a kind of defiant humanism in the face of all the darkness.
He believes in knowledge, in compassion, even when surrounded by unimaginable cruelty.
He's a stark contrast to the cynicism and nihilism that war can breed.
But his fate, being executed for taking a teapot, it's just heartbreaking.
It shows how arbitrary and senseless war can be, how even the best of us can be victims of its absurdity.
Derby, the couple having a picnic in the ruins, these little glimmers of humanity, they're what give us hope.
They remind us that even when everything seems to be so it goes, there's still beauty, there's still connection, there's still love.
And even the ending, as bleak as it is, has this strange sense of hope to it.
Billy working in the corpse mines, confronting the true horror of what happened in Dresden.
And then that bird asking Pooty Wheat.
It's such a simple question, but it takes on so much weight in that moment.
Is it hope? Is it a sign of resilience, of life continuing even after devastation?
Or is it just another reminder of the absurdity of it all, of the randomness of life and death?
Vonnegut doesn't give us an easy answer. He just leaves us with that question, that Pooty Wheat, echoing in our minds.
And that's what makes Slaughterhouse-Five so powerful. It's not just a war story. It's a story about what it means to be human, to grapple with the big questions of life and death and meaning.
It's a book that stays with you, makes you think, makes you feel, and ultimately maybe even makes you a little bit wiser. You know, for all its humor and philosophical musings, Slaughterhouse-Five hasn't been without its controversy.
Oh yeah, this book has definitely ruffled some feathers over the years.
Banned in some places, challenged in others. I think it's safe to say it's made some people pretty uncomfortable.
Well, it tackles some pretty heavy stuff, right? War, death, the meaning of life. It doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of the human experience.
And it doesn't always provide easy answers. Vonnegut makes you think, makes you question things you might have taken for granted.
And he does it with this unique blend of humor, satire, and genuine emotion. You can be laughing one minute and then feeling utterly heartbroken the next.
Absolutely. One of the most powerful and controversial parts of the book is his depiction of the bombing of Dresden.
Right. He doesn't present it as some glorious victory, but as this senseless act of destruction, this horrific tragedy.
And that was a pretty bold stance to take, especially back when the book was first published during the Vietnam War era.
Definitely. Some people saw it as unpatriotic, even anti-American. But Vonnegut was writing from his own experience, from what he witnessed firsthand.
He wasn't trying to make a political statement. He was trying to convey the truth of war, the human cost that's often ignored or glossed over.
And that's one of the things that makes Slaughterhouse-Five so relevant, even today. We're still dealing with the consequences of war, the trauma, the moral dilemmas.
It's a reminder that war isn't just about battles and victories. It's about the lasting impact on individuals, on societies.
I think what Vonnegut wanted readers to take away from Slaughterhouse-Five was a sense of empathy. A deeper understanding of the human cost of war.
And maybe, just maybe, a renewed commitment to peace.
It's a book that challenges you to think critically, to question assumptions, to look beyond the simple answers.
It's meant to provoke, to disturb, and ultimately to make you feel something, to make you connect with the human experience in all its complexity.
And that's what great literature does, right? It transports us, it challenges us, it stays with us long after we finished reading.
Slaughterhouse-Five definitely does that. It's a wild ride, a thought-provoking journey, and a book that I think everyone should experience for themselves.
Couldn't agree more. It's a book to be read, discussed, and revisited. And who knows, maybe it will even change the way you see the world.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into Slaughterhouse-Five, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel and share this episode with your friends. You can also find a link to purchase the book in the description. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.